Yo, what is good, everybody? Welcome back to the podcast, Nerd Shit. It's your boy Key, back again with the boy ShootingStar Sheriff for another podcast, episode 4. This week we're talking about basically, is it okay to judge things based simply on their own content rather than comparing them to other things, right? Because a lot of times when we watch movies or TV shows or read a book or whatever it might be, consume some form of content, we a lot of times compare it to what came before it and say, okay, this is okay, but it's not as good as this, or this is really good because because it's much better than what came out before. So I kind of want to touch on that and basically just ask the question: should we stop doing that and just appreciate things for what they are, just as they are? Um, Also, maybe we won't talk. Maybe I won't foreshadow this. Uh, anyway, no, forget it, forget it, forget it. We're gonna talk about Spider-Man being back in the MCU. Not sure how much we're gonna touch on that, but Spider-Man is back in the MCU. There is a new contract apparently, and then another thing, Stranger Things season 4. That's apparently just been announced. Like I saw it online, and I thought it was maybe like a fan thing that somebody made up, but no, the actual official Stranger Things Twitter tweeted it out. So that's something that's going on. But but anyway, getting into this, I just recently had this thought. I was just kind of thinking to myself, and I'm like, yo, like a lot of new animes and movies and stuff come out, and like we always kind of compare them to other things. Like, let's say you are watching, like, there's a certain anime that comes out, right, and it's in a particular genre, and you watch the anime and you say, okay, well, this anime here was pretty bad because this other anime before it within this same genre did it better. But what if like you just kind of took out the previous anime, right, or the previous um, TV show, and then you just like kind of watched it for what it is? Would you still be able to like? Would you then be able to enjoy it as for what it is? Like, let me see. I know me personally, right? And this is like kind of jumping all over the place, but like me personally, I really enjoy the DC universe cinematic movies. Like I like them, just me personally. That's something that I like. I like Batman versus Superman. I like Justice League. Now, is Justice League the best movie in the world? No. But like whenever anybody talks about DCU, the cinematic universe, they always compare it to the MCU, and everybody likes the MCU a lot better than the DCU. They'll say, "Oh, Justice League is bad. It's not as good as what is it? Infinite War. What is it? Infinity War. It's not.
Oh,
Yeah,
Infinity
it's
War.
not as good as the
You
Avengers.
probably
Yeah, it's not as good as the Avengers. All of the Avengers movies are 10 times better than Justice League, or the Superman movie is trash because it's not as good as the original Superman movies, or whatever it might be. The main point that I'm trying to get is like, for me personally, I just enjoyed the movies for what they were. You know what I mean? Like I enjoyed Justice League as a Justice League. Now, do I think they could have done better? Yeah, absolutely. Do and like, am I am I excited for the Snyder cut if that ever comes out? Yes, I am. Like, I hope the Snyder cut actually does come out and people do enjoy the movie, because if they enjoy it, then maybe there'll be a Justice League too, and then it'll encourage them to do a really good job. You know what I mean? Um,
yeah.
and then also another thing I wanted to jump on before you, I guess you put your input in, but even in the MCU, Spider-Man. Let's talk about Spider-Man. I know we've been talking about Spider-Man a lot on these podcasts, but the Amazing Spider-Man, like, everybody who is a fan of Spider-Man always say, "Hey, the Amazing Spider-Man movies weren't that good. Andrew Garfield is not as good of a Spider-Man as Tom Holland, or who's the first one, the first Spider-Man."
Toby.
Tobey Maguire,
Toby
yeah. They
Maguire.
say Tobey Maguire is a much better Spider-Man than Andrew Garfield. He's a much what is it? Tom Holland is a much better Spider-Man than Andrew Garfield. But like, what if we just looked at the Amazing Spider-Man movie as like its own thing and didn't like compare it to the original movies, or we didn't compare it to what is it? God damn, Tom Holland. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
would you still would you enjoy the movie more if if you were just able to just like kind of watch it by itself and just like not compare it, like is it should we stop comparing things to other things to influence our opinions on those things? You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I mean, honestly, this just comes down to like really like um it really just basically what you're saying is like, should we look at things objectively or subjectively? And it's, I mean, and honestly, it's hard. It's really hard when you're consuming a piece of media, and if something in this piece of media is striking, has something similar from something else, or it reminds you of
Yeah.
something else. Just as human beings in general, we do compare things. We compare things all the time, and we compare and contrast a lot of things. Now, whether it's right or wrong, it's,
It's like a
you know,
philosophical
is,
question right there.
yeah, it's subjective, man. It's really really
This isn't
subjective.
nerd shit anymore. This
I
is
don't
the
even.
philosophy of the philosophy
I
of
know,
thought.
right? Yeah, the philosophy of thought. Come check us out once a week. Support us on Patreon. I gotta stop talking about
Hey,
Patreon.
hey,
Um,
speaking into the universe, maybe one day we'll have a Patreon. Nah, let me chill.
like, speak it into the universe. Hey, it'll happen. So you know, so I mean, we'll use Spider-Man as an example. We've had three iterations of Spider-Man. When it was just Tobey Maguire, there was nothing else to compare Tobey Maguire to, because there was no, he was the first live action Spider-Man.
Yeah,
Um the first, big, noticeable live action Spider-Man, so he had no comparisons. So because he was the only one, it was, and he was the first one, it was very easy to accept Toby for who he was. Now, I'm about to go out here on a limb, and it's funny because I have, within like the last few years, like last like maybe year or two, or maybe just a few months, actually a few months ago, earlier this year, um have watched Amazing Spider-Man and Amazing Spider-Man 2 again. And I don't look at those movies as, it's funny because as much as it is a superhero movie, yeah, it is, but I don't look at them that way because um Mark Webb, which Mark Webb is, he's a really good
yeah.
director. He also directed
I,
500 Days of Summer, which is a
yeah.
very good movie. If you have not watched it, please go see 500 Days of Summer. It's really
I
good.
think I know what you're
But
going with
Mark
this, but
Webb,
like, and I completely agree. But I'm gonna let you get your your point out before I say something. But I think I know where you're going with this.
yeah, yeah. But I don't look at Amazing Spider-Man as like a superhero movie. It's funny. I kind of look at it more as like this other side. To me, it's almost like a study of it. Almost feels like a study of about people. And I think Mark Webb tells really good stories about people. And I think the only reason he probably signed up to even direct Spider-Man movies is because Spider-Man is an everyman. But like, I think what was really cool about his movies was that he definitely got to, and this is what I like that the Amazing Spider-Man movies do, that the other movies haven't really done. Maybe the original Tobey Maguire does it a little bit, but I feel like the Amazing Spider-Man delves into it a little bit more. Is Peter's emotions, and and when I mean emotions, like, it tries to delve into more facets and sides of his character, like his anger and stuff like that. Like, I like the fact, like, in the Amazing Spider-Man, like, a lot of people don't like the fact that he's kind of a dick for like the first half of the movie, until like he saves the kid, and then he realizes, like, oh, maybe this can be something greater than my personal grudge story. Which a lot of people hate, that like he makes the suit out of like vengeance instead of out of like, out of like respect for, great power comes great
Yeah.
responsibility, that whole
Yeah,
shtick.
it's more of a like a Peter Parker movie rather than a Spider-Man movie in a sense, kind of like, is that where you're going with this?
Not kind of, sort of, but like I like the fact that like in the first part of the movie, like in the movie, he's like, he gets the powers, but he's kind of like stuck up, and he's kind of like, oh, I'm better than you, and oh, because like it's a really cool real world. I think it was a cool take on his character because it came from a concept of like he just lost the person that meant a whole bunch to him, that meant the world to him. So he feels like he's got to take it out on someone. He's angry. He's like, it may not translate well maybe in the movie, and that's debatable.
Yeah,
I can totally debate that, but he's a kid that he's grieving over the loss of someone that he is basically like a parent, like basically like a second dad to him. It's like his dad. So like he's grieving, and this is how he's dealing with the grief, is to try and he feels like somebody owes him, and people feel like that when they're going through something like that. And I think it's really cool that it delved into more of Peter's angry side, which we never really get to see Peter Parker like super super angry and teed off. Like it's a thing, like, and it's funny because like they play with it, but it's like in the comic books there are times where Spider-Man like, well, Peter, out of complete anger, like Peter can actually, Peter intentionally holds back on people, like on, especially, well, when he's being Spider-Man, he intentionally holds back. So,
yo,
like when he doesn't hold back, he's actually a real force to be reckoned with.
yo, this is.
So like I like the.
Oh no,
Hmm?
no, 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 you can go. I was about to talk about the Spider-Man video game, but
Yeah,
I was about to say,
no, 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 you're good. No, you're good. I'm almost done.
okay,
So like, I just like that those movies tried to deal with his emotions and things like that. So like, it's funny because I went back and watched those movies under a different light, and I was like, you know what? They're not that bad. It's just not. It's not the same. But I remember people when Andrew Garfield came out. I was like, he's funnier as Spider-Man. I didn't like Tobey Maguire was always super serious as Spider-Man. Like he had the occasional one-liners. I do remember, but Spider-Man's supposed to be a little more quippy. He's supposed to be a little, you know what I mean? Like there's a more comedic side. I mean, when Andrew Garfield was playing Spider-Man, there was a more comedic take on him. So I appreciated that much. So it's one of those things where it's like, okay, it is what it is. But it's just because I think objectively, looking at things objectively and subjectively, it's super hard. You can do it, but the thing is like putting your bias aside, and that's the hard part. A lot of people can't put their bias
yeah,
aside.
no. Before I get into this, I was gonna say, speaking of like Spider-Man, like just like getting angry and shit like that. I know when I played the Spider-Man game on PS4, when Miles Morales' dad died, like yo, that shit fucked me up a little bit on some real shit, and I was like pissed. So like I legit in the game went around the entire like map just whooping ass. I was like, yo, don't fuck with me. Like I'm done. Like I'm done. I was like,
Yeah,
but no, that kind of made me think of that when you were like how Peter Parker holds back sometimes, and I was like, yo, I'm Peter Parker in this game. I'm about to fucking just fuck some shit up. Like he was a good man.
it was good. Yeah, but like it's crazy because a lot of people, I mean, a lot of people think like, oh well, I mean, he's supposed to be a nice guy, but it's like, yo, put yourself in his shoes for 2 seconds. Like, put yourself in, especially if we're talking about the PS4. You get to the end of that game, like, you don't think he has a reason to be angry, to be upset, to be mad? Like, you know what I mean? Like come on, man. Like he's trying to be a regular person, and he's also trying to be a superhero. He does all, when he's a superhero, he does all this stuff without no thanks. With the he doesn't do it for his health.
Yeah,
He does it because he feels like he has a moral obligation. He has a moral obligation to do it. So like when you see like it's just funny where everyone always like, oh well, Peter isn't supposed to act like that, and it's like, well, what if he was just angry that one time,
Yeah,
and he just, you know what I mean, like he's a regular person, and like I think
showing
that's what a
the
lot of people
character
forget.
growth. You know what I'm saying? Like going
Yeah,
from that angry kid who just lost his uncle to like someone that you would want to look up to. Someone who Anyway, we're not gonna get into that. I was gonna like go into a whole monologue, but anyway, we're not gonna get into that.
yeah,
we this is not like a Spider-Man a Spider-Man podcast. We're just talking about looking at things objectively and stuff. I wanted to um take some of the light off of Spider-Man and maybe even like go into books and movies, like movie adaptations to books. Like me personally, whenever a movie comes out that's an adaptation of a book, I don't like look at it as okay. I hope this is as good as the book. Like I like to look at it as its own piece of like artwork. You know what I mean? Like I feel like
yeah,
a movie doesn't have to go be like word for word or like point for point from the book. Like I feel
yeah,
like it can be 50% of the book. It can take central themes of the book and then just basically kind of use that and create like its own experience. And some people don't feel that way. Some people feel like if you're gonna make a movie out of a book, it needs to be on point with that. But like, what if you and those are people who like, oh, I read the book. You know, I'm saying like those snobby people who feel like they're better than people because they read the book and they they've like tasted the sweet nectar of better literature or whatever. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you ever like meet like know somebody who's like, oh,
yeah.
I read the book. Like the movie's trash because like the book is like 10 times better. You know, but like to people who have
Yeah.
never like read the book, the movie is amazing. You know what I mean? And me personally, you know, I'm not gonna like give this movie any passes or anything like that because in my opinion it's complete trash. And it would have been complete trash if I hadn't experienced the anime before, but Avatar. People Avatar the Last Bender, people who have never like read the manga or watched the anime on Nickelodeon, they actually like legit enjoyed that movie. And it's kind of like for nerds like us, it baffles us to think like who could enjoy such a bad movie. You know what I mean? But like you hear other people talking about it, like man, you know he did the thing with the water and like the he did the thing with the fire and then he did the thing with the rocks and stuff like that. Man, that shit was dope. And you looking at them like, bro, you don't even know. Like you have no idea how bad this movie is. But like I feel like, you know, if you like if you don't know the other medium or whatever, then what you
Mm-hmm.
have right in front of you, you're able to just appreciate that for what it is. And a lot of times us being nerds and people, you know, who like live this shit and like we know how Spider-Man in our minds is supposed to be because of the source material, or even fucking I'm gonna say it. I'm gonna say that I'm gonna get a lot of hate for it, but fucking Sonic, you know, like the whole Sonic movie thing. Like if we never knew what Sonic looked like before that before I guess that came out, then we wouldn't have had an issue with it. It'd have just been, oh, that thing is ugly. That shit look creepy. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? But like, it wouldn't have been like, oh, it's not following the source material. It's not my Sonic. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah. Oh no. Yeah. I was on that hashtag. Not my
Yeah,
Sonic
but
too.
like,
I'm still on
and
that.
like you like you know,
I'm still on that. I'm still
it's
on
cool to
that.
feel that way. And I'm not saying that if we didn't know what Sonic was, or if we didn't love Sonic, you know, and if we didn't grow up with Sonic, then we would like that movie. I'm saying that like what is it? What am I saying? Like we like people
Mm-hmm.
who don't know Sonic didn't have an issue with it.
They could have.
Like
Yeah. They're like if.
they would have watched that movie and then they would have made their own opinions about it without like
Yeah.
comparing it to the
Knowing
video game.
any
Yeah,
of the previous.
exactly. So like
Yeah. I
when it
know.
comes
I
to
see
like
what you're
things like
saying.
looking at things objectively and stuff like that, that's kind of where I'm going with that, you know. And like there's so many different there's so many different sides
I
of this
mean.
conversation because
Mm-hmm.
like what's the saying like the comparison is the killer of self confidence or something like that. Comparison is the killer of confidence, and like I think you can even
Yeah.
flip that and say comparison is the killer of enjoyment. You know what I'm saying? Because like if you're constantly comparing something new to something old, you know, if like your standards are based off of like this thing better be as good
Like this.
as this other thing,
Mm-hmm.
or I won't like it. Cause like let's like okay, how about this right here, right? Like if you watch a movie or whatever, right, and you say this movie's okay, but it's not as good as this other movie, right? And then you say
Yeah.
this movie is good because it's as good as this other movie. Like I think like if the other movie wasn't in actually, instead of saying, okay, this movie is bad, but it's not as bad as the other movie, so I'll give this new movie a pass because it's not as bad as the other stuff, right? And then now, like, you give it a pass, but if the older movie wasn't a part of the conversation and the movie in front of you was just bad, then it would no longer get a pass. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I see what you're saying. Yeah, it's something that we just innately do as people. I mean, I get it all. It's basically the Naruto Boruto debate. Everyone loves everybody from our generation and back. We preach that Naruto is the best and Boruto is trash because Boruto isn't like Naruto. But but it's like, well, what if we never knew of Naruto? Let's say if Boruto came before Naruto, which I don't see how that would happen. But
Or
yeah, but let's
what if
say
you knew the anime and you simply just watch
you
Boruto
watch,
first?
yeah, you just watch Boruto first and you don't know anything about Naruto. So yeah, and you want to watch Boruto. So I mean, it's ah man, it's such a sticky,
Yeah,
it's such
because
a
like I said,
it's a
you can come
complicated
at it from both
issue.
different angles. Like I feel like not like okay, like not having a base quality for entertainment is a scary thing because like if you don't have a base of what's good or bad, then how do you move forward into making better stuff? But then at the same time, it's all subjective. So it's like why do you need a base when you're just creating
Yeah,
what you want to create? And like, if there was no base
yeah.
to what's good or bad, then there will be more people confidently creating stuff that they enjoy. But like, and then I guess if you want to get into like technology and stuff like that too, like if you want to like start comparing technology to technology, you like when the PlayStation 5 comes out, you'll say the PlayStation 5 is so good, it does this thing right here much better than the PS4. And you need that base because like if the PlayStation 5 isn't doing anything better than the PlayStation 4, then why do we need the PlayStation 5? Or if it's doing the exact same thing, the exact same way, we don't need it. So we need it to be better. So I mean, like,
Well, and I can kind of answer that, and that just comes down to just improvement. Like we always want to do better and strive for better and do more. With every time we have a chance to do something or to do something again, we want to just improve upon it. So I mean, and that goes with anything. It's creation, whatever your craft is, whatever you're passionate about. Even if you want to sit down and make a billion podcasts, like every time you do something, you're gonna do it a little bit differently. You're probably gonna approach it a little bit differently because you want to be able to improve, and that's just human nature. We all want to just improve. So I mean, at the end of the day, it's glad it's see, and that's like the beauty of just like being like that we can create things is that there's so many different things that are out there. Like there's always going to be something that'll appeal to somebody and it won't appeal to somebody else.
yeah,
So I mean, at the end of the day, it's just really just appreciating what we appreciate, loving what we love. But then at the same time, just like if someone has a different opinion, we just need to respect that.
yeah.
We just need to respect that everybody's got their own opinion about how they feel about things, and we just move on from there. That's all. That's all that is.
This is funny because like our second podcast was literally us comparing other things to to Dragon Ball, but like,
Yeah, I
it,
know.
it it is what it is. This is like I feel like I said, this is what is it, like the philosophy of thought podcast one. This is not nerd shit podcast four. This is the philosophy of thought. Nah.
Let's not. Let's not.
No, let me chill.
Anyway.
But no, anyway, um, me and my boy Shooting Star Sheriff here, we can go into this for hours and hours and hours, just kind of going back and forth about how we feel about it. But anyway, that's gonna that's gonna give you a 4 hour long podcast, and I know nobody wants to sit through a 4 hour long podcast. But again, tweet at us if you have any thoughts on this. If you feel like you can bring any value to this conversation, or if you just want to give your input, tweet at us. If you're watching this on YouTube or listening to it on YouTube, down in the comments below, let us know what you think. Is it like, should we start experiencing things or judging things just completely based off of their own merit and their own quality without comparing it to what came before it, or things within that realm of entertainment? Or is it fair to do that, and not like have some input for some from some other source, comparing it to, you get what I'm saying? I'm you get what I'm saying. Anyway, let us know how you feel about that. Again, tweet at us, Nerd Shit Daily on Twitter, or down in the comments below on YouTube. Next thing, we have Spider-Man being back in the MCU. Now, um, I read something, right, that the new deal requires Spider-Man to be in a Venom movie, or Venom to be in a Spider-Man movie, or something like that. I'm not sure how that goes. I know, like, when it comes to this whole Spider-Man deal, like, all of the news and the information is like all over the place, and nobody knows what's real and what's fake. The only thing that
Well,
we have for sure, I think that I
yeah.
is that Spider-Man is back for another movie. That's the only thing that I know for 100%, 100% for sure.
Yes. Yeah, he is back for another movie. How do you feel about it?
I mean, I'm happy that Spider-Man is back in the MCU. Like, me personally, like, I don't really have an emotional tie to Spider-Man. Like, I've never read the comics, you know what I mean? Like, I've never really watched the cartoons or anything like that. Like, I'm pretty new to Spider-Man. I mean, like, I played like all of the PlayStation games when I was a kid, and that's like the extent of like my Spider-Man experience as a kid growing up. So like, Spider-Man leaving the MCU, I mean, like, for me personally, like, whatever is better for, I guess, the companies as a whole, you know what I mean? Because like, I wouldn't want, Sony getting gypped on the deal, or Disney, getting gypped on the deal, or whatever. Like, Disney like taking over all of it, or Sony just like saying, anyway, like, whatever was better for, like, I guess, their deal, I would have been fine with, because like, at the end of the day, like, we would still be getting Spider-Man movies. And I mean, it is what it is for me personally. But I am happy that he's back in the MCU, because I do want to finish that arc that they set up. And like, for me personally, I do hate when whenever we get something or a piece of something, and then something goes wrong with the deal, and then with the deal or whatever, and then we just don't get that as consumers. Like, we just don't get the end of it as consumers. Like, the whole Superman thing with Henry Cavill. Apparently, they're trying to recast Superman. And I'm not sure how true that is, but like, I still want Cavill as Superman, like, and I still want the Justice League Part Two. Like, I still want that, you know what I mean? But like, with the whole thing that they have going on, we may never get that. Um. So yeah, so like,
Yeah,
I'm
I
happy he's
understand.
back in the MCU, and like, I know a lot of people are,
Hmm.
are happy that he's back in the MCU too. Like, everybody feels like this is a win for the community, which is pretty good.
Yeah, I think, yeah. Overall, I mean, my thoughts about it, and I won't take too long. Overall, my thoughts. I think it's like the consensus. Everybody's happy. I'm ecstatic about it too. I think what they did say going forward. I think Kevin Feige. I think it was like in like it was like a very recent report or update or whatever. I think I heard it in on a YouTube channel, that covers movies and stuff like that. that they do have one more movie. I know it's got some Venom. I don't know if the Venom thing is gonna happen or not, but I know Spider-Man is definitely coming back for another. I think it's one more solo movie and then one more appearance in another movie. I don't know if that's 100% true or not, but he's definitely getting one more solo film in the MCU. And that film is supposed to wrap up the storyline. Kevin Feige, he said like we have an end game for Spidey. So what they're gonna do is, I guess, with these next movies that they're gonna do, they're gonna wrap up his
They're
storyline
gonna kill off
and
Spider
end
Man.
his character. Well, not. I don't
No,
think
no,
that's gonna
I'm
happen.
just
I don't
messing.
think
I'm
that's
just
the thing.
messing.
I know.
This is Miles
Um,
Morales time.
I know, right? I don't even think they have the rights to that. Anyway, anyway, they're basically just gonna finish his storyline and wrap his character up. That way, if his character is wrapped up and they can't negotiate on another deal by time that movie is over, then at least his storyline is ended in a satisfying spot. Um, and then if he does get signed on for more movies in the future, then they can just keep having him appear, but they're gonna finish his storyline up. So basically we'll have a so basically they just want to finish his storyline, and then if they can renegotiate more deals, then they'll keep having him appear.
Yeah.
But just in case he doesn't appear anymore, they at least want to finish that story arc that they started. They at least want to finish his story arc off, which I honestly think that's the best way to do it. Um, they should not do that Far From Home shenanigans again, where they try and start a storyline not knowing whether they're gonna get another deal or not. So I think but at least we're getting an answer. We're gonna get an actual answer. We're gonna get an answer to that movie, and we're gonna, no one's gonna have to be upset that we're never, like, it's gonna be like this loose plot thread that never gets answered or resolved. So it's all in all, everyone should be happy. It's cool. Um, Tom Holland's he's a great actor. Works really hard. Um, Anyone who can sip a drink through a straw in their mask, shout outs to that person. Tom Holland's the only one I know who's ever had to do that. So yeah. Yeah, that's cool. And it's cool that he gets to, like, still work with all the actors that he's, like, grown up working. That he's, well, I say grown up, but that he's been working with. So he gets to still work with his friends and stuff. So shout out to that guy. I hope he's happy about everything. He pretty much I can only assume that he
I hope he
is.
followed
So
Sony back on Twitter.
we say that as Tom Holland is listening to this right now. I'm just like, he's like, oh man, they love me. How did he know that I unfollowed Sony?
Oh
Oh
man.
God.
Well, no, yeah. Spider Man is back in the MCU for now. Hopefully, I mean, you know how it is. Like these companies, these corporations, they just care about the money and whatever, whatever. But hopefully, they're able to work out some deal where Spider Man is in the MCU for as long as possible, and we get more amazing Spider Man movies. Pun not intended. but but yeah, and the last but not least, I don't really have too much to say about this, but Stranger Things is apparently back, well, not apparently coming back for season 4. And I do believe it is the same cast and everything like that. Now, if you've seen Stranger Things season 3 and you've seen the end of that, like, you know what happens at the end of that. A couple characters won't be coming back, obviously, but yeah. What do you think about that? Like, where do you think they can go um after season 3? Like, I know at the end of season 3 there was a whole little Russia scene, like the Russian scene and stuff like that. So maybe they're gonna do more stuff with the Russians. But where do you think they could go with this?
You know what? It's crazy because I didn't. It's funny because I just recently got put on to Stranger Things like this summer, and I watched all of it within what, maybe like a month or two. I watched, maybe a month and a half. I watched it all. I watched all 3 seasons. Um, so it's crazy because I thought season 3 was definitely like, that felt like a definitive ending for that cast of characters. So I thought season 4 they were just gonna pick up a whole new cast and tell some new stories, which I honestly wouldn't have been against that. But like, I mean, I can understand that, like, that cast of characters. Like, I do really love that cast. Like that cast is like, they're very likable. They have a lot of charm. That cast has a lot of charm to them. So I can understand they may not want to, they don't want to probably get rid of that cast because, or they don't want to replace that cast with a new cast because then I guess it would just be like, oh well, it's not the same. Which that gets back to the whole objective versus subjective debate, which we're not going back to.
I
Um,
might be wrong
am I
actually.
happy?
I
What?
might be wrong actually because the tweet says we're not in Hawkins anymore, which can be taken so many different ways. Meaning they're not following the Hawkins cast. Well, I know a lot of like some of the cast moved out of Hawkins after the season, so maybe they're still following their story, but just not in the Hawkins area, or maybe they just completely went to Russia with the new with the new season 4 coming out. Like I'm not sure what that means. So maybe I'm wrong about the same cast and everything, but the tweet says we're not in Hawkins anymore, and it's basically just Stranger Things season 4 and some cool visuals.
Okay. I mean, here's the thing: is Stranger Things coming back a good thing? Yes. I mean, it was a hit. People loved it. Like, just think about it. In the short time that Stranger Things has been out, there's like so much merch. They got DLC in a video game. Like, Stranger Things is just super popular. Like, and especially now with, like, it's October as we're recording this. So, I mean, Halloween's right around the corner. Like, how many Stranger Things costumes are you gonna see between now and Halloween? You know what I mean? Oh yeah, it's gonna be a thing, man. It's definitely gonna be a thing. Whether the original cast comes back or not, if the original cast comes back, I'm not opposed to it. I love it if they tell a completely new story, but like using that Russia cliffhanger as like an extension into this new story. That's cool because that keeps building like the storytelling and stuff like that up. Maybe the old cast will have a cameo. Maybe they'll have cameo appearances or something like that, or whatever. But we'll see. But Stranger Things 4 being announced, I'm about it. I'll binge the whole thing on Netflix as soon as it comes out. So I don't know why I'm not gonna talk like I'm not gonna watch it. I'm gonna binge it when it comes out.
Yeah, no, I can't wait till it comes out. I'm I'm really excited for a trailer to see what this is about. Maybe when the trailer drops, we can actually come back and talk more about it. Um, but yeah, I'm excited for season 4 of Stranger Things. Again, let us know down in the comments below. Are you all excited for Stranger Things season 4? Did you watch um, the other seasons? Did we spoil the end of season 3 for you? If we did, apologies.
I was gonna say it was a very mild spoiler, but it's spoiler nonetheless.
I mean, you know how people are. You know how people are. But anyway, speaking of Halloween and October and everything like that, I just wanted to throw out a shameless plug. We'll have it down in the description below. But your boy shot a short film with my friend Jessica and another friend Trinice. So that short film should be coming out either this week. Well, okay, so it actually should already be out by the time this podcast goes up, and I'll have it down in the description below. But I shot it in collaboration with Riot Films, and yeah, hopefully you all check it out. I mean, I'm really excited for it. I've never shot a short film before, but like this is kind of something that I've been wanting to do for a very very long time, and I hit up my friend a long time ago, and I said, hey, I want to do a short film. Do you have any scripts or ideas that you want to put on a screen?" And she was like, "Yes." And then and we got together and shot a short film. It's been a long road because we had to do some reshoots and stuff like that, and editing and all of that, like and stuff like that. But yeah, if you want to see it, it's called Kratom. It's going to be in the description down below. Check it out. And I appreciate you all for checking it out. But anyway, that has been a podcast. As always, if you have any opinions on anything we've talked about today, if you want to tweet at us, Nerd Shit Daily on Twitter. Tweet at the boys. We'll be there. We'll be there replying to comments and stuff like that. Tweeting back at y'all, or down in the comments below. Let us know how you feel about anything we've talked about today. Spider-Man being back in the MCU, Stranger Things, or objectively judging content. Anyway, this has been your boy Key with Shooting Star Sheriff, and we out.
Out of here. Later.